Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dry Pink Dialogue. It is the 72nd minute. Vancouver just went up 3-1. I do not have any interest in waiting until this game ends to get started because this is just emotionally frustrating. So this is going to turn into, I guess, a watch along in the last 20 minutes. I'm your host, Scotty. I'm sure Saur will join us in a second when he feels like he's ready to talk. Inter Miami, as we speak, is losing 3-1 to Vancouver, 5-1 on aggregate. They're obviously not going to make a comeback here. This is not a performance that I think anyone sees any positives from. And so I think we should just talk about it. And mostly I want you guys to get in the chat. I changed the title of this video from Raw Reaction to Heron Therapy because this is not going to be a celebration or a reaction in any sort of positive way. It's mostly just going to be a little bit of group therapy where we can be sad together. I want to start by saying this, I think, is a fireable offense from Javier Mascherano. Not just the starting 11, but the mindset of the team, the fact that the offense has gotten worse and worse over the past month, and he has had zero changes, including in the most important game in the history of this club, that they came out with a loser's mentality, with no interest in trying to dominate this game, with the inability to mentally resolve themselves from a single goal, to not put your best players on the field and go out fighting and swinging like you actually want to prove something or at least put out your best foot forward. And I think the kicker for me was that his first substitute was Gonzalo Lujan, who is awful. I was sorry to say that on the post-game recap. I'm a little bit more emotional right now. Allende just had a really nice shot that off the post. Gonzalo Lujan is terrible. He is the worst player on this roster. He is worse than Santi Morales. He is worse than Ryan Saylor. He is worse than Toto Aviles. And the fact that he's coming onto the field right now tells me that this coach does not understand the players on his team. He doesn't understand who's good or not. He doesn't understand how they interact with each other. He doesn't understand how to be a coach. And it is pathetic. No Yannick Bright, no Ian Frey. I think we were trying to figure out what does this coach see in them that he keeps putting Cello in, keeps putting Redondo in. I think the answer is he doesn't understand players. He doesn't understand talent. The fact that Gonzalo Lujan, who is the worst player on this roster, is the first substitute you make when you go down 2-1 in the CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinal, a tournament that you are never supposed to give up on. You are always supposed to fight. And you put on your worst player, shows me he doesn't think he's the worst player when it is obvious he is the worst player. He is responsible for that third goal. Now, obviously, the game is out of reach by that point, but it is entirely on Gonzalo Lujan. I don't know what else to say. This is the worst coaching performance in the history of this club. Without a doubt, this is worse than what happened in Monterrey last year. And I think this shows not just that he wasn't ready for this moment, but that he doesn't understand coaching in the way that you have to be a professional coach. Not a professional coach of a team with great ambitions like Inter Miami, but a professional coach. This is an embarrassment from Javier Mascherano, and I almost don't know what else to say. So I will let you go, Saur.
That's all right. You can rant for a little bit longer. I think your frustrations are valid, but they're directed at the wrong person. I mean, yes, we can talk a lot about Gonzalo Lujan, but he's the least of our problems right now. My biggest issue with this game is the fact that Inter Miami was not prepared. We talked about this offline, and it was pure vibes. We had absolutely no plan going into this game, and yes, we were 1-0 up, but I think it could have easily been a 3-1, 4-1 scoreline for Vancouver. They just didn't take their shots. They could have easily, absolutely killed this game off in the first half itself. It gave us a little bit of hope in the first half, but the second half has been an absolute, utter shambles. This team is clueless going forward. I have no idea what Cello Wigan is even doing on this pitch. He gets rinsed every single time he goes in for a tackle.
He was bad
Ali
today.
Ahmed was having the game of his life against Wigan. Now Javier Mascherano is bringing on Bright and Martinez when it's too late. What's the point? It's not just
Yeah,
the
why aren't
fact
you
that
bringing
you're
in?
losing.
Why aren't you bringing in attackers? It is.
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, you can still score
Okay.
4 or 5 goals in this game.
You
Like,
want to
you quit.
maybe.
You're putting defenders in. What are we doing? I don't. It's embarrassing. This.
I mean, maybe
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
to control the damage, but I think more than
Who
anything
cares?
is just an
You
utter
won.
embarrassment about how this team has actually set itself up in this game. And we're losing to a Vancouver side at home, and not just losing, we're getting absolutely wrecked. I have not seen an Inter Miami side perform this poorly since Messi's come to this club. It's quite bad. Like Vancouver,
I-
just first of all, they deserve to go ahead. Absolutely.
Can I say another thing? You're right. By the way, Vancouver has been the better team tonight. This is a better team in Inter Miami.
Yeah,
On
yeah,
paper,
yeah,
they have more
absolutely.
talent. And Javier
Yep.
Mascherano has taken the best team ever assembled in the history of this league, in this country. And he has made them significantly worse over time. I'm sorry, this is pathetic. Even Messi doesn't look great.
Yeah.
He doesn't look good. He's fine. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to hate on Messi because he's just like, I'm using Messi because if you've even screwed up Messi, you are doing something really, really wrong. This is just, it's just as embarrassing. And the reason why we went live early, is because I texted Saur. I was like, should we just go live now? He's like, no, let's wait. And I was like, I can't wait because this is so hard to watch. I can't not yell and scream. It's just as embarrassing.
I'm sorry. I'm just too distracted. I don't know what to say, man. Martinez and Yannick Bright are coming on now. What's the point of that? Vancouver is a very good team. They're more well balanced. They have a better game plan. They know how to play. They've got faster, quicker, stronger players than Inter Miami. And that shouldn't be the case because Inter Miami's talent pool is immense.
That's the point.
Immense. But the fact that we're not just losing to Vancouver, but being outplayed and being played off the park is embarrassing to say the least. And I wouldn't mind losing to this Vancouver side because they're really good. But losing like this, like we're barely creating. What are we even doing with the ball? Okay, Messi's got the ball now. He scores. No, he doesn't. He just shoots out wide. But it's just there's no coherence or there's no patterns of play. Everything just seems to be too made up on the spot.
It's just go out
like,
there.
What are
and
we
just
doing?
do
What are the players trying to do? Yeah, exactly. And the defense was absolutely shambolic today. I thought Wigan, the first of the culprits, because he got rinsed by Ali Ahmed every single time Ali Ahmed had the ball. It was awful to watch. And I was surprised they didn't score more goals in the first half because they definitely had the opportunity to. Falcone, I don't think was fantastic today either. He had a fair few opportunities that he let go for Vancouver as well. Noah Allen, culpable for the second goal, perhaps. I don't think he was on it either. But it's across the board, I think, quite bad for Inter Miami. Not just one player. It's easy to single out one player in this case, but yeah, it's a sad way to go out of CONCACAF Champions Cup. Let's just say that.
And can I just say this? I know we made it to the semifinal, but this was not. He didn't do more or something Tata Martino didn't do last year. We had a much easier path. Sporting Kansas City is one of the worst, or at least before they fired Peter Vermes, was one of the worst teams in the MLS. Probably the worst team. Then we got Cavalier, who, by the way, we almost got outplayed at home against Cavalier. And then LAFC, it took a miracle comeback where the guys pulled through, and I applaud them, but they had one good game in that series. And now we play the first team that's actually of any real quality, right? That LAFC team is not that good. And now we play a team with real quality, and we didn't just lose. We got embarrassed, both home and away.
5-1. We lost 5-1 on aggregate. It wasn't even this bad against Monterrey.
So far. So I don't know what else to say. I'm going to go to the chat so that we can kind of do this together, guys, because this is just going to be therapy, and hopefully we all feel a little bit better. Better about this by the end of the game. I will just say, someone just messaged me and asked, "Does Javier Mascherano survive the night?" This is like not a professional coaching performance from him. This is really bad. And I don't really know how else to say it. I will go
I think he's
through.
going to survive. He's not going to get sacked.
I agree. That's my guess. But this
Should he
is
get sacked?
okay.
I think
Let me refresh.
it'll be a
Let
little
me
bit
ask you a different question. Let me
premature.
ask you a different question. If you are the front office, do you think that this team is going to survive the group stage of the Club World Cup? Do you think this is a team that's going to do anything in the Leagues Cup? Do you think this is a team that's going to win them?
Yeah,
MLS
Leagues Cup, maybe. MLS Cup, yes.
I don't. I don't.
I-
What makes you think that with how things are going right now? What makes you think that?
The
They've
first
gotten
8-10
worse
games.
every single week.
No, but
they've gotten worse week
they've
by
got
week.
8 to 10 games of good sample size where they played well enough. And here you go, one more. I just don't think I don't think this is enough to get Javier Mascherano sacked. I'm not saying that as my perspective. I'm
this
saying
isn't
that as
about-
the front staff.
No, but let me like rephrase.
coaching
Let me put this back on you, because if you were Tata Martino at this time last year against Monterrey, and people were saying, and it was a really bad performance in that second leg against Monterrey, but he had already won the Leagues Cup. He had already proven he can win tournaments. He had already proven he can win silverware when everyone's healthy. There was some health concerns. This is Mascherano's best team. He had Ian Frey and he benched him. He had Yannick Bright and he benched him. He had Fafa. He had, I guess Baltasar Rodriguez is the one player he hasn't gotten yet, but, we'll see if he becomes the difference maker. But it doesn't matter. That shouldn't be the thing that prevents you from making a real run against another MLS team. You've gotten everything you've wanted. You got rid of Julian Gressel. You refused to play an MLS All-Star out of arrogance. And Robert Taylor, too, by the way, because you thought you were so good. And now this team can't score goals. This team can't score goals. That, by the way, that first goal Jordi Alba scored, that was just a bad play by the goalkeeper. That hit him in the hands. That hit him in the hands. This team has not created a really excellent shot on goal. Luis Suarez is in terrible form, and Javier Mascherano has no plan to fix that. Messi is now in bad form. Think about that. Messi is in bad form. And Mascherano doesn't know how to fix that. Do you hear on the broadcast what they talk about? It's like Mascherano's like, I can't tell Busquets anything. What am I going to teach Busquets? What am I going to teach Messi? What am I going to teach Suarez? They teach me things. How is he going to fix any of this? So that's my point about firing him or like looking to move on, is like, what is he going to say or do or has shown that makes you think he's going to improve? This isn't a job for a first-time coach. And I think he had an excellent plan to start the season, but then he didn't know how to manage the season. And also, he crumbled in the biggest moments. And also, like, what has he actually done? I don't...
I'm going to let you rant, but all of this is for naught because it's too reactionary. He's not going to get fired. I don't think he deserves to be fired, not off of this. It's the start of the season. We're in the third month of the season or the second month of the season. There's a lot more to play for. And yes, I know right now it looks like it's the end of the world, but unfortunately, Inter Miami has been in poor form over the last 5-6 games. And this game has come at a time when we just have been cursed or whatever by a really poor patch of form. And I think there's a fix to this. Hopefully, Javier Mascherano finds a fix to this. That was bad.
Abondo
That was
just
a
got
bad
smacked
fall
in the
by
face.
Alan Abondo, right on the edge of the box as well. But yeah, it's too reactionary to say he should get fired. There's a lot more to play for in this season. If we get knocked out of the Leagues Cup in this embarrassing of a manner, if our form in the MLS continues to drop, then yes, that conversation can be had. But right now, I think it's too premature to say. You don't fire a coach after he's reached the semifinal of a CONCACAF Champions Cup. You just don't. And I know it's an embarrassing performance. It's quite poor in terms of our coaching. We should have been set up for success, and this is almost saying that we're set up for failure. But there's a lot more to play for this season, and right now, I don't think he gets fired. Oh, I don't think he deserves to be fired either. I think
Okay,
he needs to have a bigger
let me
he
ask you.
needs to
Let
be
me ask
given
you a
more
different
time.
question. Let me ask you a different question. We play New York Red Bulls on Saturday. Last year we lost to Monterrey, and that's like the closest comparison to this. Same tournament, really really embarrassing second leg, and Inter Miami went on they won 7 out of 8. They drew the other one, right? They once again they rebounded and they looked like the best team in the MLS, like as if they just had a couple bad injuries. And remember, Messi missed the first leg of the Monterrey tie. Campana got hurt. Robert Taylor got hurt. So like they were missing pieces in Monterrey, and they came out of that and looked immediately like boom, 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 road win, road win, road win, beat New York Red Bulls 6-1. Like they looked again like the best team in MLS. So is that what, like, I get it. If that happens and they win the next 8 games, of course I'm going to start believing again because I'm a fan. But hold on, they have a chance here with David Martinez.
What is Darwin Martinez doing at that side of the pitch?
He's trying to play soccer. Like he's got a winner's mentality. He's not giving up. That's what he's doing. That's the whole thing,
That's
dude.
not where he's supposed to be on the pitch.
No, but it doesn't matter because it's the 88th minute in a game you're losing 5-1, or in a tie you're losing 5-1. I just
Listen, this is the raw reaction. You're allowed to have your opinions here.
well, okay. So tell me what you think, man, because like I'm ranting and you're telling, and I get, and you're fine. Like I'm overreacting, sure,
No,
emotional,
no, no.
sure, all that stuff. So what do you think? What is your reaction to this?
My reaction to this is awful. It's terrible. The result is really poor. Um, it depends on how you bounce back from this. Our response in the MLS needs to be stellar. You
And what
can't have
happens?
another string of performances like we've had in the last 4 games. You have to come back. You have to fix something. Whether you change the team, whether you change the players. On when you play Red Bull on Sunday, you have to put up a performance. You have to go out, get the win, and continue to make changes that improve this team. If you are not able to do that over the next 4 or 5 games, if this team continues to deteriorate, look clueless, not have good patterns of play, and basically players look like they don't have an idea of what they're doing in the pitch, then we can definitely have that conversation. Right now, I think
So
this is
when
a
is it?
really poor patch
Tell me
of
when it
form that
is.
we're in.
Tell me
No,
when it is.
that's what I'm saying. In 4 or 5 games, if we
Okay.
continue to perform this poorly, if MLS
Okay.
results don't go our way, then that conversation deserves to be happened. Absolutely. And you might be warranted in saying that yes, you should have that conversation right now. I just don't like to be that reactionary for coaches. Inter Miami is in really poor patch of form right now, and we haven't been playing good football. Whatever that's down to, I think 90% of it is the coaching decisions that have happened. Yes, absolutely. But Javier Mascherano for the first 8 games did not lose a single one. Now we've gone on to lose 3 games back to back. He has to respond. We were giving him all the plaudits at the start of the season for playing really well, for setting this team up really well. We talked about balance, and I don't want to be the kind of fan that after 3 games, after 3 losses, or more than 3 games now, because we've had poor performances for a while now.
It's been bad as long as it was good. Just so you know.
Just about,
It's
yes,
been as
just
bad
about.
as long as it was good.
I agree, but I think this one performance will not get him fired immediately. It won't. It
So
needs
so
to.
so let's look at the schedule. Okay, they play the Red Bulls on the 3rd, on May 3rd. No stoppage time. Okay, so game's over. So they play the Red Bulls on Saturday. Okay, then they play Minnesota away. That's a good team. San Jose away. That's going to be a West Coast trip. That's going to be hard. Then they play Orlando City at home, the rivalry. That will be the 18th. That would give you 2 weeks to hire a new coach before the Club World Cup. Do you think that there's a different coach? Do you think there's a chance that that they replace him before the Club World Cup? See,
I
think
don't
you're
think
wrong
it's
about
going to
that.
happen.
I think you're wrong about that. I think you're wrong about that. I think that I agree with you. I don't think he's going to get fired tonight or tomorrow, and I don't think he should. Like, this has been an awful performance. So much so that I'm now like, I would be okay if they fired him. I'm not saying they should fire him, but I would be okay with it. I wouldn't be like that was a ridiculous decision. I think that if they don't turn this around immediately and look like the best team in the MLS, he could be fired before the Club World Cup. Because that is like a real demarcator where the club does not want to get embarrassed. And they already, most people don't think they belong because they got in the most like backdoor type of way. And they built this team around Messi. And by the way, they need to make sure Messi feels like this is a real program, like a club that is going to compete for trophies. Unless you think this is Messi's friend and they don't care about winning. They just want to hang out with each other.
No, I don't think that's the case. There's definitely a case to be made that if Mascherano doesn't perform, he is going to get booted. But you can sense when that happens. There's a air around the club. Players down their tools. It doesn't look good. I don't think we're at that point right now. No, I don't think we're at the point where players have down their tools. Absolutely not. You can't say that the players are not trying. We had the game against Dallas where you yourself said that players were running, getting to the second balls. Things were happening.
Yes, all the players he's not picking. All the players who are dying to get an opportunity, and he just shoved to the side. Those are the players that were fighting like hell.
Yeah, but I don't think even the
Am I wrong about that?
Are you saying that Velasco Segovia and Tadeo Allende are not performing for this club? Or have down the tools for the manager? No, I don't think so. That's not the case. Do you think
wouldn't say
Cello
that.
Wigan, Maxi Falcone, Noah Allen have down tools? Does it look like they're not trying to make an effort on the pitch?
No, but the players trying to get the coach fired is not the only reason to get
Yeah,
rid of the coach.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. But what I'm trying to get at is there's an air around the club when the manager is about to get fired. And I personally, you asked for my opinion, so I personally do not think we're at that point yet. If you take a step back and look at the grander scheme of things, we're still not even in playoff contention. We're one of the top teams in the MLS. Absolutely. We got to the semifinals of the CONCACAF Champions Cup, lost to Vancouver, who is the number one team in the MLS right now. When the front office makes certain decisions, they're going to take all of that into account because replacing Javier Mascherano right now is going to have an effect on the team itself. So they're going to make all these decisions based on the cost benefit analysis that they do. And I don't think we're at the point where firing Javier Mascherano is the best case scenario for us. Absolutely not. It's going to take a fair few. I think it's going to get much worse before we actually consider even firing him. He's not even close to being fired, according to me. I don't think so.
Where do you think we sit right now without looking it up in the Eastern Conference?
I think we sit around 5th.
We are 5th.
Yeah.
You think that's good enough?
With a game in hand. No, I don't think that's good. But I think you have to put things in context right now.
Okay. And what happens if they lose this weekend and they fall to 7th?
I think the front office is going to take into consideration that this was a semifinal against the best team in the MLS right now.
And they got embarrassed.
Yes, but I don't think we're there yet.
Okay,
it's as simple as that. Yeah,
I agree with you. I don't think he's going to get fired tonight or tomorrow or anything like that. But do you think that he moved a giant step towards that direction?
Absolutely.
Tonight? Or do you feel like
this was definitely a step towards us saying that Javi Mascherano is not the coach for this team? But I think it's an overreaction to say that he needs to be fired right now.
No,
this team is far from that.
I agree, and I said that I wouldn't call for him to be fired right now, and I'm not. But I do think that the way you start getting the air of those kind of conversations that you're talking about is when people like us start talking about it. And I think it's now worthy of a conversation because that was that bad. It was the worst coaching performance in the history of this club. This has been the worst month of coaching I've ever watched it in Miami. And I was not paying that close of attention in the first couple years in terms of like individual decision making. So I'm not going to say it's the worst ever, but no coach has ever had this much talent and performed this poorly. And let me go through the games because we played LAFC on April 2nd. So this month we lost LAFC. We drew against Toronto, who's not good. We had that incredible game against LAFC at the home leg. And that is the one shining moment. We had a bad draw against Chicago where we were worse than Chicago. We got a lucky 1-0 win against Columbus where we were worse than Columbus. We got beat up by Vancouver on the road. We lost to Dallas strictly because of coaching decisions. and we lost tonight, I think, because of coaching decisions, personnel decisions, etc. And by the way, like a lot of those things are, I think, directly related to coaching decisions. Playing your players too much, not having any different ways of attacking teams, not coming up with new strategies and new personnel groupings to try and spark things, letting your superstars run themselves into the ground. These are all coaching things. It's not because Messi is just hitting a terrible run of form. These are all connected to Javier Mascherano's decision-making. He is not playing his best players. He is choosing guys for reasons that are not based on talent. These are like the things that you yell and scream about from coaches, except the coaches that you do it for with your favorite team in the Premier League or La Liga or whatever, those coaches have huge track records to back up their decision-making. Javier Mascherano doesn't have that. He has nothing to fall back on except what? 8 games in the beginning of the season. In which, by the way, if we look back on it, are like, it was very impressive to start his tenure, but I'm sure if you go look at it, there were some moments where you were like, right? He has, I think it's the personnel decisions that are really bothering me because A, he's playing his best players into the ground, and B, I don't think he knows who is good on this team or not. I think the Gonzalo Lujan substitution has really thrown me through a loop because he clearly thinks Gonzalo Lujan is a good player, and he is the worst player on this team. Worst player on this team. Okay, let's get to the chat. I'm sorry. David says Noah Allen has been horrible all game. What do you think of Noah Allen?
I didn't think he had a particularly good game today. I thought he was quite poor.
I thought he was, yeah. I'm happy with that. I'm okay with that.
I think nobody was good.
I think he was one of our best 5 players.
Yeah.
Like if you told me he was one of our best 5 players,
I
would agree with it. Anton says all the goals came from Wagon's side. We were right. He was wrong about Wagon. We were right and he was wrong.
Absolutely. Dude, I texted you on the side. I was like, Wagon is so shit, man. So shit. Excuse my language, but he was terrible.
He is not prepared. He's a fine MLS player, but fine MLS players get exposed in the top levels of the competition.
Dude,
and that's what
all he
today.
does is just get the ball, move 5 paces forward, and then pass it back to Maxi Falcone. And then when he does go forward, he goes all the way back to Maxi Falcone again. He absolutely does nothing to add any flavor to this team in the right backside.
I agree.
Nothing at all.
I agree.
It's terrible. And defensively, he's worse, which is saying something because he got absolutely rinsed by the Vancouver wingers. Rinsed to the ground. It was terrible to watch.
You know what I will say about Chelo Weekend? He's better than Gonzalo Lujan. I'd much rather see him out there than Gonzalo Lujan. But compared to Ian Frey, like it's not. These are players that should be playing in 2 separate divisions. Like Chelo Weekend is like an English Championship player, and Frey is like a Premier League player. Maybe that's a bad example. Frey is like a Bundesliga player, and Chelo Weekend is a Bundesliga 2 player. That's what I mean. Like they should be playing in different divisions. And somehow Javier Mascherano thinks Chelo Weekend is better than Ian Frey. It's absurd.
That baffles me. I'm not sure what's going on behind that decision making.
He doesn't understand his players. That's my best explanation. Is he doesn't understand how good his own players are, which is.
And the thing is, you can't even see what he's trying to do with that decision making because sometimes you can tell why a coach picks a certain player because the player fits their stylistic profile, how they want to play on that right backside. You could justify that decision if Javier Mascherano wanted his right back to be more defensive or did not rely on the right back to make offensive movements. You could understand that. But honestly, I don't even know what he wants his right back to do because it's just you can't make sense of what the stylistic decisions are. And if that's the case, then you pick the best player on that side of the pitch, and that's Ian Frey through and through, both defensively and offensively. And I'm not sure what's going on behind the decision making. Is it because Frey is not training well? Well, okay, if he's not training well, why did he have a man of the match performance in the last game?
No, but it's not just Frey. Like that's the thing. It's happening across the board now. So that's why it's a Mascherano decision. It's not that Ian Frey's not training hard. It's Like, why is Yannick Bright not playing over Federico Redondo?
Absolutely. Federico Redondo was nowhere to be seen this entire game.
Yeah.
Was he even playing?
My girlfriend was like, you got to give Federico Redondo the Where's Waldo award because no
Yeah.
one can find him.
No one even knows where he is.
The Gonzalo Lujan thing. This is driving me crazy. The idea that Gonzalo Lujan is a better player than Toto Aviles is equally insane.
The
to
commentator
Cello
said
I think
today
that might be the most egregious one.
The commentator said this game that Gonzalo Lujan has been a great player. Maybe he comes on to shore up the defense. I was like,
They haven't
what
been
are
watching.
you on
They
about?
haven't been watching. I think what happened is, I think with Gonzalo Lujan, with outside people from the rest of MLS, is they were like, oh, Miami's defense is better. Who are the new players they brought in? Those guys must be making the difference. And so they looked at Falcone and Lujan and like, oh, those are the
just to
good. But
put
if you're
things in
watching this
perspective,
team,
yeah.
he's not good. Lujan sucks.
To put things in perspective, by the way, we've talked about if Javier Mascherano gets fired or not. The commentators talked about him in the same conversation as Sorensen for Coach of the Year.
Ash says this team style of play doesn't win big games. Can you tell me what this team style of play is?
I don't know what their style of play is. I honestly don't. I genuinely don't.
Michael says, sorry, but Miami just plainly stinks. Forget about MLS Cup. I love them still, but forget about MLS Cup. That's my point about Mascherano, is that it's not about whether he's a young coach and developing, because I do think he'll be a better coach 5 years from now than he is now. But this is not a team that's building into something. This is a team that's built and is trying to win trophies now. And if you are the one thing stopping them from winning trophies, you're the easiest thing to replace. And Miami, like, here's the thing. Miami got embarrassed tonight. I know they made it to the semifinal, but this is going to be an embarrassment. This is going to be a black mark on the Messi era of Inter Miami. They're going to look like they're going to be looked at as failures for this. And if they get destroyed in the Club World Cup and they lose 4-0, like, I get our expectations are low, but if they get embarrassed there, they're also going to look like failures. And the same thing in the Leagues Cup and the same thing in the MLS Cup. And so if you're looking at this coach and you're saying, I need someone that's going to take this talented roster that I built, that I worked really hard to assemble, and that has all this talent and depth everywhere, and this coach doesn't even know who his best players are, even though they are putting man of the match performances right in front of his eyes 3 days before.
I've heard Pep Guardiola is looking for a new club.
Jim Curtin's looking for a new club. It doesn't have to be Pep Guardiola. It can be Jim Curtin. I don't know what to say.
I'm not going to entertain that conversation. You know I don't like to talk about firing the coach.
Okay. Francisco says that Messi disappeared against Monterrey, against Atlanta, against Vancouver for $20 million. There might be a conversation worth having about Messi tomorrow. I don't want to go there right now because I think this is on Mascherano, really. I'm still upset about Gonzalo Lujan coming into this game. You're trying to come back. I mean, when he comes on.
What was the scoreline when he came on?
It was 2-1. It was 2-1. So we needed to score 4. No, we needed to score 4-2 still. But there was 30 minutes left. If you bring on, I don't know. Like, you can't quit at 30 minutes left. And he brought on a defender because Maxi Falcone was on a yellow card. A says Bright finally came on. Didn't put on Fafa at any point, says CV.
By the way, this is the first time since we didn't lose 3 games consecutively last season, and we've just lost 3 games on the trot.
How many games did we lose all of last year?
God knows.
No, I'll look it up. We lost 10 games last year. Our worst stretch was right in the Monterrey series. We lost 4-0 to New York Red Bulls. We got a 1-1 draw against NYCFC. And then we lost to Monterrey at home, drew Colorado, lost to Monterrey. And guess
still not what, three games losing.
But guess what happened in that stretch? Messi got hurt. He only played in that final game at Monterrey. He missed the other 4 games. So you're talking about a fully healthy team. And by the way, we didn't have a right back at that point. Jelly Wigan hadn't come in. And also Campana was hurt. And also Robert Taylor got hurt in the first leg. Like, there was excuses last year that do not exist right now. And by the way, that Monterrey road leg, that Monterrey team was excellent. Like, we had to go on the road in Mexico at Monterrey. This game was in South Florida with a fully healthy roster, and you had months to prepare for it. This is like so embarrassing. Lucas, Wagon, and Mascherano need to leave. Who's Lucas?
I think Luhan, maybe.
Luhan. Okay. Natalia says, "Hi, Scotty. Thank you for starting this early. I genuinely couldn't just keep watching the game without starting to rant. It was awful." Sergio says Mascherano wasted everyone's time. Michael says, "I hope Messi doesn't resign. He deserves better." Do you think that this is going to have an impact on Messi's resigning? Because I have never forgotten how he was supposed to resign with PSG after the World Cup, and everybody was happy and he was going to resign with PSG. And then everything turned sour in like 2 months. And then all of a sudden PSG was not even like, he wanted to leave so badly. Like, I think that could happen here.
Yeah.
And that would be like, PSG is going to be fine, obviously, without Messi. Inter Miami is going to be really in trouble if Messi doesn't resign. Like from an actual existential perspective. So, like that's, but I don't know if Mascherano's his friend, so maybe that makes it harder to move him on. But like, you know what Mascherano should be? He should be the assistant coach for this team, not the manager. The real Aquino says, "What's worse, MLS won't win CONCACAF. Berhalter's out and possibly Brian White due to hamstring, so they're going to lose against the Liga MX team who will head to the final." I don't know. Vancouver's
And
really
their
good.
way. And their way.
No, not necessarily, because it depends what happens tomorrow night. But they made a huge leap in terms of the goal
The
difference.
CONCACAF commentators were very clear about the fact that despite Vancouver winning this game, they're going to be away from home, whether it's Cruz Azul or
That might be true, actually.
Yeah.
Because I think the other game was a tie in the first leg.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's probably true. Richie says, "I'm done. I can't watch it anymore." Mark says, "Turn chicken salad into something significantly less appetizing." David says, "The only person that can fire Mascherano is Messi." Should we talk about Messi's responsibility in this?
That's one thing I didn't want to get at. And as long as Messi is not dissatisfied with Mascherano, I don't think it's going to happen. Very plainly put.
So what do you think he's thinking about this? Messi, the player, what do you think he's thinking about this? Because he left the field last weekend yelling at the fans like, I'll see you in South Florida. Like cocky, like, you think you're happy now? Just wait till I have my turn next week. And this was his turn.
He's going to think that the players didn't perform up to the mark and it was down to individual decisions and errors that cost us the game. I think he's going to take responsibility for it rather than blame it on the coach.
What do you think happens on Saturday?
Against Red Bulls.
Red Bulls. In terms of like the lineup, in terms of the coaching decisions, like, do you think we see a total reset?
I think we're going to see a mix of that, but more so rotation than anything else. I think we see a different lineup. I think we go back to this.
Like a full rotation or a half rotation?
No, I think half rotation. That's what I would think.
So what do you expect to see?
I expect to see Yannick Bright in the middle, Toto Avila starting, a couple of changes here and there. Busquets probably will start. Messi will probably start unless he's injured or something. Maybe resting Suarez for a bit, giving some of your fringe players an opportunity. Fafa Pico probably starting. If Baltazar Rodriguez is healthy, I expect him to start.
I don't think he'll be healthy.
So, yeah, that's what I expect.
So I guess it goes back to the conversation we were having earlier. Like, is he now coaching for his job? Because if he is, then why would he change anything?
Because this is definitely not working. If this was working, he should have been changing it.
If it was working, he would have, like, why didn't he change something tonight then?
Because you need to have consequences for it, right? He thought it wasn't as bad and he could have had a result tonight. And now the fact that he hasn't got a result and this is the worst possible scenario that has come through, he's now going to have to change things up to actually save his job. That's how I would think if I was Javier Mascherano. You can't keep... What did Albert Einstein say? An idiot is somebody who keeps making the same mistake again and again and again. So there you go.
I feel like we're there already, though. I guess that's where we're different.
Yeah, but Javier Mascherano is not going to admit that he's an idiot, right?
I'm more curious to see what he says in the postgame show. He took the blame for the loss on Sunday.
I give him the benefit of doubt to try and figure this out. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think the club will too. Listen, they knew when they hired him, they were taking a risk that he wasn't going to be ready. But the performance tonight was just amateurish from him. Tony says, "Why is Cello still in the game?" What'd you think about Cello today? His like actual performance.
1 out of 10.
So
Absolutely
bad.
dirt poor, like dirt poor. And it just pisses me off the way he plays, man, because it's just so annoying. He just keeps going back all the time. He will make this movement as though he's doing something really good, and then he just passes back to Maxi Falconer's story. And I'm like, why? There's so much space in front of you. Just take the ball and run with it a little bit. And then he'll pass the ball back into the midfield and give it back to Vancouver, who are then going to be on a counter attack, and it's going to be all Hail Mary with the defense scrambling because Cello Wigan could not get his ass back in time. It's poor, man. It's so poor. So poor.
Can I tell you something? I have reason to believe that some of the players think that there's an agenda for playing certain players over others, and that it's not based on talent. And that's
Yeah.
from some of the players. So when you want to talk about Mascherano losing the losing the players, like it doesn't necessarily show up in how hard they work on the pitch, but like I think there's doubts about them.
Absolutely. There would be doubts
I
because
wanted to go look back and sort of reread what I was told earlier this week just to make sure, but like I was hearing that right, but like the players
no,
see it too.
there would be
Or at
doubts
least most of the players see
100%.
it.
But at the end of the day, the only player whose decision matters is Lionel Messi. The thing is, what we don't understand is that if Lionel Messi is not uh, unsatisfied with how Mascherano's performance, if he still thinks Mascherano is capable of doing the job here, and the club fires him, that not only leaves a sour taste in Messi's
But they
mind,
won't. Yeah, okay. They wouldn't fire him with
it's
that.
going to lead to an entire issue that you've talked about whether Messi resigns or not. So they don't just have to fire Mascherano; they also have to take into consideration what Messi's feelings are here.
Yeah, they won't
And
fire him
that's the
without.
big factor.
They won't
Exactly.
fire him without
And do
talking to
you
Messi for
think
sure.
that Messi is at that point where he's going to think, oh no, Mascherano's gone. He's not good enough. Do you think so?
Would it bother you if he wasn't? Because I think it would bother me if he wasn't.
I don't think he is, though. I don't think he is.
Tony says, "Go get Kevin De Bruyne."
No, no, I don't know. No.
Right? No.
No,
Like
no,
why?
that's not what this team needs. Legs and
not
athleticism
a-
and physicality.
This team doesn't need legs. This team needs to play its players
Where they,
appropriately.
yeah.
Appropriately. Like what he's been doing. And by the way, let me just check the date because it was the second MLS game of the season against Houston, where we on this podcast started talking about rotation, which we haven't talked about a lot tonight. But that was the fourth game of the season. We started talking about this team needs to rotate more. This team needs to rotate more. Javier Mascherano has to rotate his guys more. Like if it's not this game, then you have to do it against Cavalier. But then he doesn't do it, and then it's like, okay, well, if it's not Cavalier, you gotta do it against Atlanta. It's like, nope. Okay, then Toronto, nope. It's like they are dead-legged, and the truth is, as we finally saw on Sunday, you have plenty of players on this team that are capable of going out and putting in competent performances against MLS.
Not Sunday.
So,
We saw that last year.
well,
We
okay, but
saw that
Mascherano saw it on
last
Sunday.
year.
Mascherano saw it on Sunday. He doesn't trust his players. And this goes back to me, like my realization from this game is that he doesn't understand what his players are good, whether they're good or not. And he thinks his backups aren't good. Like that's what he thinks. And he thinks his guys are good. And some of them are great. Messi's an amazing player. But his backups are also good. And some of the guys that he likes or that he like has a relationship are not as good as the other guys on the field are on the team. And he doesn't see that. Blows my mind.
I'm still baffled by the decision to let Cello Wigan get back into this squad without actually fighting for his place. And then similarly with Yannick Bright being relegated back to the bench. That for me is like the two biggest issues that I've faced.
Ash says at least give the young players minutes for experience. I don't think they're going to do that because I think he now realizes I have to coach better in order to salvage this season. Like I think there's a chance he runs this into the ground in a really, really negative way. Anton says you're wrong, Sor. There's not much time left with the Fab Four. It's now or never. And Jam is obviously not it. Why wait? Wait for what? And I think that's an interesting question. What are we waiting for? Like, what do you want to see from him? Okay, so we talked about 4 or 5 games. Like, what do you want to see from him to say, okay, yes, he can get us to the MLS. He can win the MLS Cup for us. Like,
I want to go back.
see?
I want to go back to the first 3, 4, 5 games where we were actually playing crisp, good football, making good plays and patterns, and actually scoring goals. And you could see that there's a style of play that we're trying to aim at. Now it just feels like vibes football, where you pass the ball to the best player and try and hope that they can get a goal or they can score, from outside the box. Right now, it just seems very stagnant. Get the ball to Messi outside the box. He passes it to Jordi Alba, who tries to cut it back in the center to Luis Suarez, and that's all that we have. If that doesn't work, nothing else works. It almost feels like that LAFC game was a bit of a blueprint of how to play against Inter Miami, where they showed the rest of the teams that, if you neutralize 2 players on the pitch and take Suarez out, they don't have much to offer. We were getting away with it in the first few games because Allende was on fire. Segovia was getting a couple of good goals, and players were bringing us up through their pure quality. But I come to realize that we still didn't have like a fixed pattern of play in offense, and we weren't actually setting up chances for ourselves. It was just based on pure quality and individualism. I want to see set patterns of play. I want to see us dominate teams like we did initially. And I don't know if that happens immediately. They need to change a few things around for that.
Let me rephrase this question. Do you want to see something from Javier Mascherano over the next 5 games, or do you want to just not see it get worse?
I think it needs to start with him picking the right team and choosing the right players. It's not going to be immediately all's good and everything gets solved with like 2 decisions. I think it's going to be gradual, but putting in a good performance and picking the right team is the bare minimum that Javier Mascherano can do.
If Cello Weekend starts, if Gonzalo Lujan starts on Saturday,
I'll lose my mind.
if Redondo starts on Saturday,
lose my mind.
And this is him being this is like, okay, so let's talk about the Argentine bias, because it feels very real now, or the Latin American bias, because some of our best players are not that and they aren't playing. And Robert Taylor is a good player, didn't get a chance. Julian Gressel is a good player, didn't get a chance. Ian Frey, now when Cello's healthy, doesn't get a chance. Yannick Bright, somehow, who it looked like he had proven himself, has now been relegated. Drake Callender, not really given a chance, and I think that one's a little bit different, but Ryan Saylor hasn't been given a chance. Leo Alfonso has barely been given a chance. Fafa Biko has been sort of sidelined. Like, what do we make of that? What do you make of it?
It's interesting because at the start of the season, we talked about how Javier Mascherano seems to be basing his team selection on performances and how players prove whether they're worthy to start the game or not. And now we're at a point where we're discussing nationality bias and all of that. And I think it's real. I think he's picking players that he's most comfortable with, that he thinks will do a job for him, that he might have a good relationship with. And at the end of the day, it comes down to players that he trusts. And I think it just so happens that he trusts players with whom he has a good rapport and who speak the same language as him, who he gets along with. And when he's in a situation where he needs to be brought out of the quagmire, brought out of the swamp, he reverts to those players that he thinks will understand how he wants to play. He doesn't realize that there are 7, 8, 9 other players who probably will do a better job. But just because they don't maybe have the same rapport as the rest of the squad has with him, he's not picking them. That's where I think we're at. This team selection today was purely based on the fact that he thinks these set of players would get him out of trouble because he has a good rapport with them. Based on not talent, but the fact that he can converse with them, he can get his ideas across to them in his native town.
I have really fought against this when people have said this about Tata Martino. I really fought against it earlier this year, but this lineup was like unforgivably embarrassing. After what Ian Frey did on Saturday, or Sunday rather, and just the obvious deficiencies that Federico Redondo has compared to Yannick Bright. Like this is, I think it's either that what you just said, or it's that he actually just doesn't understand how good his players are. And I guess maybe I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt by
I think
saying
that's worse, though.
that's
If
what
he
I'm.
doesn't I think that's worse. If he doesn't understand who his best players are, I think that's worse.
A lot of people are saying he should be fired, dude. In the chat. What was the final score? I think it was 3-1. Yeah, Access 3-1. Nitter says I'm disappointed at Messi. He picked Mascherano. Wookie says fire him now. Ash says, why has Allende and Segovia stalled out? They haven't been good in a while. And I think it's the same reason Suarez and Messi have stalled out. They've been played too much. That's my opinion. And I put that also on Javier Mascherano.
There's no other reason that you can think of because they were fire hot when they were playing in the initial games. And then what's this in reference to, though? I've said a fair few things.
Upcode is saying that you're on crack for thinking that Javier Mascherano deserves more time.
I'm not saying he deserves more time. I just think he's not going to get fired.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, so going back to some earlier Anton says it's not one bad performance. It's been a month of bad performances in a season not rotating appropriately. And Diego says Inter has decreased its level in the last couple games. They've gotten worse, and it's inexplicable because there haven't been injuries. There haven't been this team has been fit and healthy. I mean, healthy. They've been run down, but they've been available. I don't know what to say, man. Why do you think the team is getting worse?
I don't think there's enough of instructions on how to break team downs. Tactically, I think we're lacking. Yes, you got the basics right, but when you go up against a really good team like Vancouver, you need to have your tactics in place. How do you play against the counterattack? How do you actually break down a low block defense? Who do you need to pass to get certain positions right? I think that tactical instruction is not there. Yes, Inter Miami can get far based on their talent and just doing the basics right, but you're going to go up against teams where you have to have the tactical nuance and the know-how to be able to get those results, and that's where we're struggling right now. I think this team is good enough to beat the medium level MLS teams, but as soon as we go up against the best of the best, that's where we get found out.
We didn't beat Dallas. We didn't beat Chicago. We didn't beat Toronto. Those are pretty average MLS teams or below average MLS teams. And they haven't been able to get results. Guys, do us a favor. This is therapy for all of us. We got 276 people, 275 people watching. Hit the like button. Hit subscribe if you're on YouTube. We will be back tomorrow for a full game breakdown. Probably a little bit of a game breakdown and much more of us having sort of slept on this and thinking more big picture, 10,000 foot. But Saur, what do you think about Messi? I mean, obviously he didn't have a hugely impactful game today, but the player, he's been getting worse. Suarez, let's talk about Messi and Suarez. What do they need to do to get back into form?
Suarez needs to sit.
I'm waiting for a patented rant from you.
No. Suarez needs to sit for a while. He's a bench player right now. He's playing at the level where I wouldn't even bring him on if the team needs a goal because he just doesn't add anything. He was a little better today in the first half. Second half, shambolic. I think the biggest problem that we face sometimes is when we're in trouble, we revert to the Busquets, Alba, Suarez triangle and the Messi triangle, and we ignore everybody else around us when we just play within ourselves rather than with the other players. And I hate when that happens because you're not utilizing those 11 players. Messi needs to realize that he's the best player on the pitch. He's the greatest of all time, but he has 5-6 other attackers along with him that he can play with, and not just Alba and Suarez. there's so many instances where the ball goes immediately to Alba, even though there's no opportunity to create there. And there are players on the right hand side of the pitch who are free and able to do much more. And I just think it's problematic, and maybe we can have that conversation more nuanced detail during our post game show. But I think Suarez needs to sit, and Messi just needs to. I don't even want to say Messi needs to sit because all the Messi fans are going to come at me, but we
No, he
need a
needs to.
little bit
No,
of a
no, he
reset.
does.
We
He
need a
needs to.
bit of a reset.
Okay, hold on. Let me do a little math here. Inter Miami next month also has a busy month. They play the Red Bulls, they Minnesota, San Jose, Orlando, Philadelphia, Montreal, Columbus. That's 7 games next month, if I counted right. He should only play 4 of them. Like he should play once a week.
Yeah.
Because
No,
and,
yeah,
and, and
absolutely.
it's not because he's not capable of playing more. It's because he's been so run down so far that he needs games off just to recover from the damage that's already been done and like get his legs back.
You know what the biggest problem is? We're not utilizing the full squad.
I'm just saying this.
No, no,
Go
no.
ahead.
And
Go
I
ahead. Sorry.
don't just mean in terms of the rotation. I mean, when we're the starting 11 on the pitch as well, we're not utilizing every player on the pitch. It's too one dimensional. It's too the Fab Four doing their thing on the pitch and trying to get goals. That's the biggest issue that we faced. The pattern of play is always the same. Busquets passing the ball to Messi, Messi to Alba, Alba to Suarez, and Suarez trying to figure out what he wants to do. That's it. That's all we've been doing for the last month and a half. And it's easy to break down and figure out if you're the opposition, because if you neutralize 2 of those players, that's it. It's done. We don't have any other ideas on the pitch. We need to be able to trust every single player on that pitch, because not only are they capable, they're more than talented enough to get the results and get involved and do the right thing on the pitch.
I think Cynical 2 might have landed on it. He says Messi needs to cut his hair. And I think that could be something. Okay. Nuno says 4-2-3-1 is a bust tactic. Should we go back to the 4-3-3? Do you think that we need a fundamental change in the structure of the team? Because I haven't been there. I've been thinking it's more about personnel, not putting our best personnel, not rotating our personnel, not giving guys opportunities to work together. But is it possible that the 4-2-3-1 is just not good enough for this league?
No, I don't think it's the 4-2-3-1, the 4-3-3. Inter Miami plays in multiple different formations throughout the game. I just think it's a little bit of a cluelessness and uncertainty and lack of instructions to the players about how they should be building up the play. It does. If we play 4-3-3, we're going to be in the exact same situation.
I kind of agree with that, if I'm being honest with you. Are you guys going to hear Mascherano? Okay, so if anyone has listened to Mascherano's press conference, please tell us what he's been saying in the chat, because we're not going to have the sort of cognitive ability to watch what he's saying while we talk to you guys. So that'll have to wait till tomorrow. But if you see it in the chat, tell us. Tony says, I don't think Messi's going to die on the Mascherano hill like some of you think. I kind of agree with this. I think he wants to win more than anything, and I think the coaching has been that bad. And this was embarrassing.
I don't think so. I think we're still a ways away before Messi actually lets go of Mascherano.
What MLS is learning is that many of the Argentinian players aren't ready for the MLS, says Myrna. This is something I've been kind of pointing to over the last couple of weeks. The Argentine league is worse than the MLS. I get that River Plate is probably like would be the best team in the MLS, and maybe Boca Juniors, but the vast majority of the league is a lower level than MLS. And so when guys come from there to here, they actually don't play that well, and they play below expectations. And so I think people that are expecting Baltasar Rodriguez to come in and just be a stud, I think that is way too optimistic. I think we have over-relied on Argentine players, and they have let us down. And that is one of the big problems. And if you're Javier Mascherano and you're thinking, all my guys from Argentina are great because they played in Argentina, that's a mistake. And I think that also is something that we need to be, or like the team needs to be thinking about. Saur, we can end it there. Final thoughts.
It's over, man. We thought we were so close to winning the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and it's
I
it.
thought we were going to win
It's
it.
done.
And by
Yeah.
the way, we had an easy path. Like it was set up for
What
us.
a fall from grace. We were so high a month ago when we played LAFC, and now this. There's still some things to play for. Let's see if Inter Miami can put a good game together
Well,
on
okay, last
Sunday
minute.
or Saturday.
Last minute. What do you want to see on Saturday to make you feel better?
I just want to see a good performance, man. I just want to see us dominate. I want to see us have patterns of play. I want to see us actually play good football because we've looked just all over the pitch. It feels like a bunch of headless chickens just running around with a ball and trying to figure out what to do on the fly, and it doesn't feel like a team working together to get the result. Both in terms of physicality, both in terms of tactics. A lot needs to change, but it needs to start with pick the right team. Just pick the right players. Don't any of the players who started today, of course, a couple could start, but I think a lot of them just need to sit and rest. Please.
How does Inter Miami turn this into a successful season?
I mean, there's the MLS Cup to play for. If we win that, that's it. Of course, it's a successful season.
Even if they finish 5th in the East and
Oh yeah, of course. Doesn't matter. We all know supporters shield doesn't matter. It's all about the cup.
And if they crash out of the League's Cup group stage and they don't look very good this year.
Eh.
Can I ask
That
you a
doesn't
question?
really matter as much.
I don't mean they need to win the supporter shield, but like if they finish with 58 points this year, which is a good season by MLS standards, but compared to 74 last year and a team that we thought was better, more talented, like that feels like a huge failure. I'll be honest.
But if you end up winning the MLS Cup despite
No,
having just
sorry.
58 points,
I understand. Of course, winning the MLS Cup
Yeah.
is a great thing, but put that aside for now. Like, I think the CONCACAF Champions Cup run was a failure because they got embarrassed against the first good team they played. It's not like they lost in an epic duel in Mexico against Club America. Like, there was a way for them to lose and it still to have been a successful CONCACAF Champions Cup. Like, I don't feel that way about this cup. And I think if they finished with like 55, 58 points, like that would be a failure of a regular season for a team that, again, went 74 points last year. And we thought they got better and more talented. Like, that's a huge drop-off.
I think it's a huge drop off for sure. But again, you have to contextualize that, right? If we get knocked out in the first round in the playoffs, I'll be the first one to put my hand up and say that's an absolute shambolic season. Everything needs to change from the front office to the coach to the players. Every single thing needs to ripped up from the ground and completely overhauled. But then if you end up winning the MLS Cup, none of that matters. Absolutely none of that matters. If you finish with 49 points or 90 points, we saw that last season. You end up winning the Supporters Shield. You set a record, and yet it was a fairly disappointing season for us because we got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. So I think it all comes down to whether you're able to win that MLS Cup or not. Regardless, if you don't do well in the regular season, that's okay. I don't think in the grand scheme of things that really matters as long as you're able to qualify for the playoffs and finish in a respectable spot. Don't finish last in the standings or like top 8 in the standings, right? You need to finish 4th, 5th to be able to actually say, fine, this was okay, but now we got to go win the playoffs.
Okay. Do you think that if they don't improve, do you think if they finish 5th, that's okay? Like, I think that's a failure. And
okay, again, you're being too one-dimensional about this. Okay, they finish 5th, that's it. Lose the MLS Cup. Obviously, it's a failure. They finish 5th. Are you going to care about the fact that they finish 5th if we win the MLS Cup?
I understand what you're saying.
Are you like, I wouldn't give a shit if they
I understand.
finish 5th in the MLS.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
Last question. Do you think this is the front office's fault? Do you think they didn't put together a good enough team?
No, absolutely not. I think Javier Mascherano has been given all the tools that he needs to win everything available to him.
Do you think this is the players' fault?
No, I don't. I think the players are talented enough to be able to get the job done.
do you think this is all on the coach?
90%, yes.
And then the other 10% is on the players for.
Yeah, I think an
Which is
execution is
fair,
obviously there.
But
Yeah.
10% of the fault is not much.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Okay. Let's wrap it up there because I will say we started this in the 70th minute and I was in a very anxious, sad, frustrated, depressed mood. And even though I don't feel great right now, I feel much better.
You're still anxious, sad, depressed, in a bad mood.
I feel much better than I did an hour and 5 minutes ago. So, guys, do us a favor, hit the like button to share a little bit of positivity and love on this very sad day. We will be back tomorrow. We will break down the game and we will think about this and sort of do a little soul searching and I think have a little bit more of an informed, educated conversation on what we need to do better moving forward tomorrow. But until then, guys, I hope you have a lovely sleep. I guess it's too late to have a lovely night, but sleep well and be appreciative of all the health and happiness that you have in other aspects of your life. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.